What is up, everybody? I know it is a little unusual. We're like punctual Paula tonight, and you've never seen me come early. You know, you know what I mean. We're doing things a little bit differently here tonight on Talk to Me Taylor over at GNN, and I'm here to rescue you from a Candace Owens or Jimmy Kimmel fever dream with an interview that I actually recorded in July. And hey, John Legend, if you see Rob, okay, I will. Rob is going to join later at the end of this partay. So today I'm airing an interview that was actually shot in July. And guys, I don't even know, call me like one of the Sanderson sister witches ahead of Halloween, because this entire conversation with a huge thought leader who actually spoke at Bitcoin conference. That's where I ran into him and his wife, which is a treat. She joins us because the two of them never really do press together. All about free expression and censorship and what have you. But now, well, that is the talk of the town. So I had this interview with Dr. Robert Malone, world-renowned scientist. You may recognize he went viral on Joe Rogan during the pandemic, and his wife, who's also Dr. Jill. And we talk all about the nature of free speech, censorship, but in a rapidly changing world and reality of Web3, of blockchain, all of it, AI. Because the truth is, it is like real world, like time to start getting real, except we don't even know what reality is. And guess what? AI is going to make that even crazier. So if we think that we are in an algorithmic hell now, well, just wait, because we are going to question all of reality. And so when it comes to censorship, free speech, already everyone is at each other's throats, right? Right now we're seeing the height of it resurged all over again with both sides and the cancel culture, if you want to call it, taking each other out. And it's only going to get crazier. How are we even going to know what is real? So we talk all about it. And I think that I asked that, and I'm going to be honest, because none of this interview is edited. I was just getting myself to not look like a rat for you guys today. So in the spirit of don't censor, filter any of it, there you go. Unedited interview. I'm watching it for the first time since shooting it with them, unedited here. And I asked them, I think, to the best of my recollection, I asked them one of my favorite questions, which is, in this new world, in this new frontier, can there be true decentralization without mass manipulation? Right? We already have the power players that be, the tech lords who are running the algorithms, all this. So is there truly a free, sovereign internet space without that same manipulation? Well, we're going to get to it. So without further ado, here is my sit down with Doctors Robert and Jill Malone. Enjoy. And guess what? You bet your ass I will be in the comments. Enjoy the rogue dialogue, whatever happens. And I'll see you in the comments. And I'll see you at the end, guys. Enjoy. Chris, how was your pee break?
My pee break?
They might flash you undetected.
Random, baby.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me. Quite an intro.
So bring them into the conversation instead of berating them constantly.
I too am a thought criminal.
Good. Well, I like you already.
Does this look like a girl who's joking around?
No.
But how much do you actually understand money? Especially the new wave.
Beauty or intelligence? When you unleash both, it is men's kryptonite. Welcome to Talk to Me Taylor. All right, it's been 2 years since this dynamic duo has entered the chat, and it almost feels like everything yet nothing has changed. Last time we talked about vaccines, information wars, and now it's gone into crypto, Web3, blockchain. So it's almost like one form of chaos and disruption to another. And I wouldn't be joined by anybody else but Dr. Robert Malone and his brilliant wife, Jill, who have this summer Mediterranean glow going on today. You two look fantastic. Also, Jill, you and I have like the mermaid hair coordinated. So
That's right. Yeah.
so Robert,
Right,
lucky you
hair.
today. Yeah, yeah, exactly. You two look fantastic. But just brushing up, if everybody has been living under a rock, Dr. Robert is a world-renowned scientist, physician, is a co-architect of the mRNA vaccine technology. I always clarify, not the COVID vaccine, the
Thank you.
mRNA technology. Yes, I always have that footnote in there. And your co-pilot, the brains behind much of the operation, Jill, also a doctor. I know you guys you penned War last year, which was praised by the likes of Tucker Carlson. He's like this whole thing right here. And RFK Jr. and Robert, you wrote Lies My Government Told Me. So guys, welcome back to Talk to Me, Taylor. Looking fantastic. And like I said, have this summer glow today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thanks for having us on, Taylor.
Of course. I want the obligatory, before I started recording, Robert, your Talk to Me, Taylor. Can I get it again?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, so talk to me, Taylor. I mean, tell me what's going down.
Tell me what's up. There it is. And also, I would be remiss if I did not, I know it's under strict NDA and embargo, but ask you to whip out that amazing toy car I just saw. So it's only appropriate.
It's right here.
Okay.
It's a toy car GT2. Robert was just telling me that they used to hand these out to dealerships because they wouldn't have a GT2 on the lot, but they could show people the
Antique
little toy.
Porsche. That's what it is.
I love it. It's a BYOC, bring your own car today.
That's right.
Well, I don't know if you've ever been on Tim Pool's show or had anything to do with him, but for him, it's all about toy skateboards. So I figure if Tim Pool can have toy skateboards, I can have a toy Porsche.
Of course,
Yeah,
they're not
exactly.
toys in our house, so.
Guys, we're going to pivot today and talk about the decentralized world. So it's about to be our world and everyone else is just living in it. Okay. Things are changing. The tide is turning. So, i.e., you're entitled to your little Porsche car. You know, we're making the rules now. We're making the rules on everyone else. Can I quickly, before we hop in, I really want to tell everybody what happened yesterday just because it was so funny. So we had run into each other at the Bitcoin conferences here in Vegas and had a great time, had dinner. So we had this on the calendar for a bit. And it was my bad because I didn't give you guys a heads up reminding you yesterday. So I'm sitting here because the interview was supposed to be yesterday. And so 10 minutes goes by and I'm like, maybe I'll shoot them a reminder. You know, it's okay. I called Jill and I'm like, hey, how are you guys? And Jill goes, well, we're great, but Robert just got in the car. So I was like, okay. So, you know, fashionably late. So I'm glad that we're here.
Sorry about that.
No, it was hilarious. Let's talk about, because now, like, we've done this. We did a run. This is round 2. And just out of the gate, let's talk about seeing you two together. Because normally we see you, we love you, Robert. And we know you're the star of the show, but it's rare to see you two together. And I love it because you really are like a Bonnie and Clyde. And really, Jill,
well, that's a metaphor.
Yeah, you are disrupting all kinds of institutions here, right?
So I better prefer Bonnie and Clyde to Thelma and Louise. So there's that.
I was writing this morning and Robert turned to me and says, you know what? You're just getting your revenge on all the bureaucracies of the world. And
yeah, exactly. There's
truth in that. I just right away. And yeah.
So the thing is, her PhD is in biotechnology and public policy. And so now in our Substack, she basically gets to geek out on public policy on a daily basis.
Exactly.
And throw spitballs at all of the DC elite and all their stupidness. So she's having a hell of a time.
Yeah. That's what's so great because, Robert, you're the forward-facing sort of entity of the brand. And when I first met you guys, it was so great to hear. And you're so proud of Jill, and it shines through, and it shined through in our last interview how Jill really is the brains behind much of the operation, your Substack, all this, what you just said. And talk to me a little bit about doing this as a united front, because it's rare to see you guys together. And I have to say, the last time we did this, there were some haters in the comments being like, oh, you guys, it's taking away from Robert. Robert's the star of the show. And again, Robert, we
Oh,
don't want to upset your
wow.
exactly. So what
Wow.
do you make of that?
So we also had we've had haters spring up that are now hating on Jill. I won't name names because that just feeds the trolls. But as you know, you were talking about this new ecosystem that we're residing in, and outrage trolling, concern trolling,
Rage
hating,
baiting.
rage baiting, all of that, rage farming is part of this ecosystem, and there's no real way to control it. You kind of have to suck it up, snowflake, and just deal with the fact that these people are out there, and usually they're anonymous.
Well, and a lot of them, what we don't know is how many are getting paid. And we do know from the SNAP benefits where Kennedy took away their sugary soft drinks and candy from that, the rage baiting came from big ag paying conservative influencers to trash talk him doing that. And so you really don't know.
How much is genuine and how much is synthetic?
Right.
They're like, we want
And
our red 12, 15, 17. What are you guys doing
That's right.
here?
What is wrong with people?
I.e., Jill and Taylor entering Robert's chat. What do you think you're doing? No. But no, it did make me wonder because between seeing some of the comments, be it diehards of yours, Roberts, or real or fake, or whatever it is, and even it was so funny at Bitcoin conference, like you're a little celebrity. People kind of coming up to you while we're talking to try to, talk and get a picture, or whatever. And Jill's kind of like, it's my life, but you've been together forever. Talk a little bit about that dynamic. Like, is it ever, I mean, you guys so don't seem like you have ego in it, but what is that like for
well,
both of
one
you?
thing I want to note, Taylor, is my Wikipedia page it just got brutalized. It was a gang rape during COVID.
Oh, I know.
And then recently, we were on the boat. Somebody who does reputation reconstruction and management for big time major stars, Oscar stars, etc. Was on the boat and talking to us in about what we'd experienced, and I started to talk about Wikipedia, and so I pulled it up, and to my surprise, there's now a section in there. It's really a lot more favorable than it used to be. It's kind of like things have turned around a little bit. There's still the usual, oh, he spread disinformation or misinformation during COVID about vaccines, but there's a section in there that talks about that we were high school sweethearts. And somehow that washed away all the other ugliness in that Wikipedia listing, just to have a kind of a public acknowledgement and ownership of our longstanding commitment to each other, our kind of shared journey. It's something we talk about a lot in the context in particular of it's one of the books that we want to write is about love and marriage.
Okay.
Because I think that folks younger people going through the kinds of things that we went through when we were poor and young and all of that, and maintaining a marriage in the face of bootstrapping. I mean, we didn't have silver spoons.
Right.
Jill was a waitress, and worked as a waitress to help pave my way through initial years in academia.
And you worked as a construction worker.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Works. Yeah.
So Jill,
So there was a point where I was a fast order chef.
Healthy cook, not chef.
Yeah, chef is
Actually, let's be clear.
building the lily a little bit there. I apologize. But still, it we now that we're in our mid 60s, we find ourselves talking about the benefits of having made this commitment and sticking by it all these years. It goes
Yeah.
back. I first met her when she was. I could probably be arrested for this. When she was 14.
Okay.
And we started. I'll call it dating. When she was 15 and I was barely 16. She was barely 15. So that's how far
Wow.
back it goes. And it's been a shared journey.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Wow.
Now we look back and we have all of that shared experience, culture, uh, perspective, hardships, successes. All of that is all packed into this little thing that's going on between us.
Yeah, right. And
Wow. Before you hop in, Jill, it's also so on brand because it's almost like restoring the lost art of commitment and critical thinking in your other work. So it's all on brand of restoring these things. But yeah, Jill, talk a little bit about even seeing that arc and evolution for you. And even again, even if it's something as funny as like Robert being a, celebrity at these, conferences or whatever, is it ever, or I'm sure it makes you super proud. Is it ever like a little bit like, oh, okay, I'm the one who really sees him, on the farm, sweaty with his wife, whatever it is. Like, talk to us about that.
oh, I think I've talked to you. I'm actually an introvert, and I don't really like all the big events, just all the people, and it's always a little overwhelming and too much stimulus for me. I would prefer to be in the corner reading a book or writing or something.
She always picks the seat at the restaurant that's in the corner where she can see everything, but she's got her back to the wall.
Yeah, but
That's hilarious.
of course I'm proud of Robert, and he deserves everything that he's gotten in terms of accolades and more. Um, uh, but at the same time, we both really like our private life. Like we have a farm here and we raise our own, as much of our own food as we can, and we try really hard to live off the grid.
Yeah.
And for me, I don't even like going grocery shopping. Like I'd much rather stay home and buy my clothes on Amazon and not go to stores. Um,
Right.
but that's just how I am. That's how I'm wired.
Right.
I'm very much a homebody.
Aw.
Yeah.
But I get
But intellectually, we have always had this hard dynamic between us where we question each other all the time. Like we push back intellectually all the time on each other.
Seriously, couple goals.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Big time. And the Caribbean glow you guys have going on just levels it up. Seriously, I think this is the best that I've seen you. You guys look seriously fantastic.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So when we got together, we talked a little bit about how all of us, you talk about challenging each other intellectually, and how across the board, all of us have been sort of ahead of the curve when it came to cancel culture and calling things out ahead. It's like things that we were calling out and got reprimanded for. Obviously, you guys were seriously deplatformed, as you said, basically getting raped.
Gender reassignment
All of
surgery.
it.
Yeah.
Even all of it, right? And even, again, my show was called Cancel Me Baby, mocking how silly and outrageous cancel culture was. 5 years later, now mainstream comedians and pundits can now talk about it. I'm like, where were you guys all 5 years ago, right? So I know you guys are in a similar boat. Does seeing all of this being unearthed now, and now it's acceptable, and you were punished and careers essentially ruined, does it annoy you that now it's cool and accepted, or does it give you hope and optimism?
But let's be clear. I mean, Robert is still permanently banned from LinkedIn. Our Substack, which has 400,000 subscribers, is on almost every single blackmail list, even though we never add any in terms of emails. The Google search doesn't pull up our 400,000 person Substack. It doesn't cite it in any of the AIs. This is not over. Okay, it's not over.
Yeah.
People don't realize how much censorship is going on and how this is the permanent record going forward a decade from now.
Yeah, I was on with a British broadcaster doing a podcast a few days ago, and Brian Rose is his name, and we had done interviews, me in his London studio, over the Cywar book and psychological warfare in general, which is an even bigger issue in the UK than it is in the United States.
Oh, completely.
And so his opening, one of his opening questions was, well, is it over? And I said, absolutely not. But it has all the same structures are still in place, but it's gotten more subtle.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're using artificial intelligence, large language models, and The old things like the Google search or even Wikipedia are increasingly old school. And what everybody's going to is, ask Grok. What is Grok? What is true? And Grok is based on what Joe likes to call dead media and Wikipedia. So, but it says it in a very authoritative way. And so it's the ultimate propaganda machine. It's like, Daddy, please tell me what's real. And the machine answers. And so that is readily manipulated by selecting what information goes into the training of the large language model to yield these answers. So it's my point is that it's still absolutely there and perhaps even more wicked because now with AI,
See it.
you can't see it and it's customized for your particular avatar. Your particular
Yep.
profile goes into that. It rapidly figures out how to speak to you, how to direct messaging to you, the topics that will resonate with you, the tone of voice that'll resonate with you. And it's so much more powerful than it even was a couple of years ago. In a way, Taylor, we were kind of blessed that during COVID, the tech they were deploying was so crude. It was possible for us to see through it in a big way. And a lot of us kind of woke up in part as a consequence.
That's fair. That's fair. But to your point, think about how even then, when it wasn't as sophisticated, how much it warped people's mind. Even now,
Oh,
the
yeah.
algorithmic purgatory we're perpetually in. Never mind, we are so in over our heads for what is about to happen with
Yeah.
AI, with what we already thought the mass manipulation and what we thought was real, and even still, everything, our cultural psyche, how we think, never mind with the advancement of AI. In fact, I was inspired by you guys. I launched a Substack, and my first piece was about this. How will we even know what is and isn't real? Right.
Good for you.
So it is.
Absolutely.
And the fact that, I mean, it's like, what could everything you laid out? It's like, what could possibly go wrong? Like them becoming sentient in the dystopian future of just completely overthrowing us, not only mentally,
Well,
but
Taylor,
psychologically, but physically. Okay, great.
They talk now about the reputation economy. The internet is splintering, right? They call it the splinter net now. It's splintering geographically, it's splintering by interest groups, it's splintering in all kinds of ways. Dead media is increasingly obsolete. The business model is failing, and they're stuck in a death spiral seeking clicks, likes, and follows and engagement. And they'll do anything for engagement, including trashing their own reputations. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think it also splinters, just to say it, you have the Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok crowd, and they don't go into the X crowd. Like
That's
it's
right.
split-
Let alone Facebook. Facebook
that's
is
right.
old ladies now.
right, and Facebook. So literally, you have
And
groups
my dad.
splitting that never see each other. Like
That's right.
never see each other. You know, they may even live in the
That's
same
right.
household, but they're getting completely different news feeds.
And it's all of this is totally fragmenting the culture, the underlying culture.
Yeah.
It's fragmenting us socially, it's
Yeah.
fragmenting us politically, it's fragmenting us economically. And as you point out, it's just going to get worse because as AI rolls out, we're going to have a lot of, as they like to say in Europe, redundancy. The dark version of this is that World Economic Forum statement, useless eaters. But there's a lot of folks that are, and particularly in the service industry and irony of irony, coders, are going to
Right.
find themselves without gainful employment. Whereas the poor souls that busy hooking up your HVAC or your electrical are going to be making six-figure salaries, and you're going to be begging them to come fix your air conditioner problem.
Coders and fact checkers.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Oh, you break my heart.
I
But then,
mean, it's, and by the way, when you talk about Jill so fervently and passionately, because you're absolutely right, how this is still going, might I add, that when you do a true story, just happened yesterday, when you Google you, what happens, the first thing that comes up, gotta love the SEO, is a New York Times article that's literally blatantly, I think the headline's like, Dr. Robert Malone lied about vaccines. And I'm thinking,
Okay.
again, I've said this from the beginning, right? Like, again,
So there's a
co-architect of the
backstory to that,
technology, but
Taylor. Taylor,
you
there's a
guys know more.
backstory to that.
You guys know more than he, right?
That was
I mean, come on.
so that article is the consequence of both of us being naive early on. And we were contacted by this reporter, Davy Alba. Okay. Now, and we, she just wanted to do a story on us, blah, blah, blah. They always
Always,
suck
of
up to
course.
it. And could she come over and see us on the farm? So we invite her into our home. Among other things, one of the reveals is she has detailed, intimate knowledge about CIA issues. It turns out that her formal position at the New York Times is disinformation beat reporter. Okay, I should have looked that up beforehand. And this
Oh my
was her
God.
last article ever for the New York Times. She, I guess, was made redundant immediately after that article, but yet it's still amplified. And we actually sued the New York Times over it, but not successfully for defamation. One of the things was in all of her talk about how we had no basis for my assertions, Jill's got to figure out why the dogs are barking.
Okay.
Um,
Life on the
One of
farm.
the things was we offered to show her all of the records of the invention disclosures, the patent disclosures, etc. She wouldn't look at it.
Of course.
So it was just a hit job.
Facts
And
don't
yeah,
matter.
it still gets amplified. It's specifically quoted in Wikipedia. You kind of, for me, I've had so many of these things. And then with the recent appointment to the ACIP, then there was a whole nother round of, in many cases, the same reporters, like at the Atlantic Monthly, taking another shot at me. And meanwhile, also shooting at Bobby. And once
Sure.
again, the sweetest revenge is reality. And I get into the ACIP, and I'm none of the things that they claim that I am in those hate articles. But that just makes the point. They're I think the proper term is they're clownifying themselves. They're making themselves into clowns in how they handle this stuff and the kind of crudeness of their propaganda.
Right. Well, the problem is they're so in bed in one big circle jerk with another. Like, I'm hearing your story and I'm thinking to myself, this woman probably went on to win the Pulitzer. Literally.
No,
Like, and they all
she now works in a much more obscure publication. I don't think
like she works at
hit
TV
piece-
Guide. No.
Yeah, right. I don't think it did her much good in terms of her career.
Well, it's sad, and this is a dialogue that continues to go on, even with the Colbert stuff, right? Like, how could his writers, his team of 200 people actually think that this is good? And even to your point, how they're all just dying off, like fossils. The problem is they're so in this cesspool
Yes.
of, like I said, a gangbang, if you will, with each other, that they think that it's great, and they think that it's truth, and they think that it's real. As we pivot now into the new frontier of Web3 and all of this, what is, because again, you guys have been victims of the algorithmic hell. What is one algorithmic behavior? I mean, I know all of them in an ideal world, but what would be the first one that you would just ban indefinitely, whether it's shadow banning, whether it's, creepy stalking and no privacy, whether it's even what you were saying, like the hate bots or whatever it is. What's one thing that you would just
So
immediately?
Taylor, the problem is that censorship is a sneaky business. Once you let it into the door, it seems to always grow. And once you create a censorship board, no matter what it is, no matter how benign it is, it eventually gets captured and weaponized. And that is a really tough thing to deal with. I think I'm having lived under Hamish Mackenzie's Substack rules now for almost 4 years, and that's how we make our living. In which early on there were haters, and some of them still exist, that put out hate articles about me. Some of these are people that I once toured with. Put out hate articles almost on a daily basis for years. And it's clearly defamatory. And I tried to complain to Substack, and they basically told me to go pound sand. That their position is one of free speech, and these guys have even called. Some of these people have called for me to be hung.
Oh my
So
God.
they're absolutely inciting violence and this kind of stuff, and yet nothing will be done. And you know what's happened is they have delegitimized themselves over time. And I now see the merit of taking a very laissez-faire approach to this type of behavior, in that what happens is that there are some people who absolutely seek a dopamine hit, and they will chase these outrage farmers. But most people just get tired of it. Now, Jill, you got a thought?
Yeah, I do. So you asked what I would ban, and this is kind of an offshoot of that, is I would love for the Supreme Court to take on Sullivan versus the New York.
Yay! Absolutely.
So the fact that people who are famous or infamous cannot sue people who defame them and win is without there being clear malicious intent. So the New York Times can write whatever they want about us, but unless you can prove that there was malicious intent behind
That's
it,
right.
you can't take them to court.
That's right.
And so that means that, it doesn't matter. And frankly, we can talk about Candace Owens, for instance.
With Brigitte Macron.
Yeah.
One example,
Yeah, one
that
example.
that case may end up challenging Sullivan.
Yeah.
But Sullivan, as you probably know, Taylor, because you're so wired into things, most of these dead media outlets actually train their reporters. They have classes in how to defame people without creating legal liability, while avoiding the legal liability.
Yep.
So that's got to stop. I agree.
You're
I was going
right.
to say,
Washington Post got sued for defamation for some teenage boys, and it was like the only one that lost because they were teenagers. And so they were minors and they were defaming minors. It was like a soccer team that they went after a few years ago. But other than that, you cannot win a defamation case.
Well, even if you want to bring it to
so free speech, absolutely, but we need some teeth in our defamation.
absolutely.
so my wish list would be to stop the small rooming.
If
Yeah.
you, and again, it's kind of what I was saying before, it's so deep and insidious that
Yeah.
it's like, where do you even start and go? And if you even bring what you guys are talking about to a pop culture level, many people are familiar even with the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni thing, where in my opinion, very similar to these, her team just completely basically defamed him, trashed him, but the New York Times yet again. And there were even doctored, like, backlogs. Like, again, what do you even know what's real? And what's their case? Well, we were just reporting what we were told and thought. Like, it's just so, again, like what could possibly go wrong? It's basically like, if we want to take you down, we will.
Right.
Which is why, hence the book. I mean, to be honest, the book is really about, it's about getting it off our chest and what we've experienced. That's true. But it's also about trying to help people to see through this, to educate people about the tricks and methods that are being used, in the hopes, maybe we're naive, in the hope that some fraction of those people become a lot more resistant to it, just like we're a lot more resistant to the methods that were used to sell us cigarettes and dish.
Right.
Well, with that said, because I'm sure you face many people going, especially with War, right? Going, this is a little like, tinfoil hatty for me. I don't really know. Let's kind of boil it down to the basics, especially when it comes to Web3 and where we're moving, because what excites me so much about it, and I'm sure you as well, right, is the autonomy and the sovereignty it promises versus all of this bullshit. So if you could really kind of human splain it to skeptics, talk about parallels you may see with your background in science when it comes to control and all of these institutions, right? And sort of where we're going with Web3 and the again the hope for breaking out of this institutional control. Like, do you see parallels there, and especially when it comes to like financial institutions and money, right? If people don't
I want to talk about peer review.
Yeah.
Because the way you frame that question, so you want us to talk about it in the context of the science and what it means. So what's become clear over the last 4 years is the science enterprise. We could call it academic science. We could call it the bio-industrial, academic, military, pharmaceutical complex. That's a bigger idea, right? It's clear that there has been so much integration of conflict of interest that it's very hard for independent thought and truth to come out. And it's very easy for consensus and reinforcement of existing dominant narratives to get published and to be recognized. And it's become clear that the scientific journals have been compromised, as backed up by President Trump recently canceling the over $20 million in subsidies that went to Springer Verlag, one of the major scientific publishers.
Publishers Nature.
So what can that teach us? What happens is that these interest groups capture and populate gatekeeper organizations.
Mm-hmm.
And the journals are one example of a gatekeeper organization. The medical societies are another example of gatekeeper organizations. And what they do is they act to protect and reinforce the interests of their constituencies and their partners, particularly corporate partners,
Sure.
pharma.
Right.
And so they, as gatekeepers, they can control what information is validated and allowed under a blockchain protected future. You could move towards something that's more akin to the peer review system that existed for most of the history of science up until the 20th century. And that was that you would publish your paper and then it would be subjected to peer review. Then people would take shots at it. They'd say, oh, you screwed up here, you screwed up there, or whatever. And then somebody else would publish something else. And then they get not this kind of forward-looking, really censorship and blocking of new ideas and thoughts, etc. And then on top of that, we've had this growth of retractions for things that were credibly put forward in good faith, may have had some flaws, but what science papers don't, that are getting retracted because they come to politically inconvenient conclusions. And so, if I'm understanding Web3 in that environment, information goes out and it stays. It's not able to be so readily retrospectively removed,
Or
which is what we've
controlled
seen.
or tampered with. It's all transparency in theory.
So the whole, we thought we had these internet archives that we could rely on and go back to, but now all those are getting edited and redacted and censored, et cetera, et cetera. So the Steve Bannon a few years ago said to me, the only thing that's going to survive is the printed word, because everything else is going to be manipulated and tampered with retrospectively. And in a Web3 world,
That's right.
that's not the case.
That's right.
Now go ahead.
But just to say it in terms of the gatekeeper, the biggest gatekeeper may be the US government, which is the biggest funder of research in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And they fund the research that they want to see succeed.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't, they don't ask open-ended questions. When you get a proposal, when you put in a proposal, you're writing it because they put out a paragraph of what they want, and you write to that paragraph your proposal. And in that paragraph, they give really big, clear signals as to, what they want.
The outcomes they want.
As a behaviorist, and I worked on drug addiction. And the PI I was working for said that this was like I guess it'd be the 1990s. He said, you can never, ever publish a positive result for a controlled drug, such as cocaine. If there is a benefit to cocaine and you publish it, you will never receive another drop of money from the US government.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They keep tabs. Okay.
Yep.
So we the research we saw during COVID, what got funded? 7,000 papers on vaccine hesitancy, peer-reviewed papers.
Yeah.
7,000 were published.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to know about the adverse events of vaccine, it's all case
That's
histories
right.
because the government had no interest in funding.
That's right.
Yeah. The other thing is about AI.
Or Jill,
there's not a single AI that is using PubMed or peer-reviewed paper for training data.
mm-hmm.
Okay. It doesn't go into training data unless it's put into a magazine or wiki.
Yep.
Why is that?
And to expand on your point about anything about adverse reactions to vaccine, they weren't interested. To take it a step further, I'm sorry, you can't. It's hard to dispute that big government, big pharma, big tech are all in cahoots and in bed with one another. It's not that it's not even just, and if you two, of course, can attest to this more than anyone, it's not just that they weren't bothered. It's that it benefits them to push these vaccines, to sell them. And even theories about on the, bigger picture about all of this. Sometimes for me, I'm a little bit, and I question everything, but sometimes I'm like, is this a reach, that a reach? Something like that. Again, the fact that these entities are just kind of brazen out there in bed with one another is not something that you could really argue.
Are dual agencies. They both have to regulate and promote the industry. So
that's right.
Doesn't just regulate, it also promotes. So it promotes innovation. So they actually
USDA, FAA, all the way across.
And guys, it makes me sad because people just so want to be controlled in a way. They want normalcy. They want structure. It makes them feel safe. And that's why this has been successful for so long, which is why the new blockchain, ecosystem will really disrupt that. Kind of simplified, how do you see, I know it kind of goes without saying, and I'm sure you've addressed this before, but I want to hear it from you myself. What is kind of the direct parallel of control with these entities from, again, your background in science and what you saw to financial control in the financial institutions, being disrupted with this?
That's a big one. So first I have to get in. So I was writing today about AI, and there was a comment and I responded to it. And because I've been, looking at the whole AI picture and what that means for society and thinking about that. What does it mean in a decade from now? And one of the most promising and scary things that's coming our way is mini nuclear reactors. They are planning by 2030 to start installing mini nuclear reactors at these data centers, which these data centers are huge. They're tens of acres. They're huge facilities, and there's not enough energy in the world to house to feed them. And so they're coming out with mini nuclear reactors, commercial nuclear reactors, where each data center is going to have their own. Well, that's really fascinating. Now you take that technology and you take it away from AI and you say, what happens when all of Africa has mini nuclear reactors? What happens when India, China, what is going to happen to the economies of the world? We are within a decade, a complete overhaul of of the world.
When you're no longer dependent on petrochemical.
Because non-industrialized nations, when you have to wash your own clothes, when you have to bucket your crops, when you have to take buckets out and water, all your production goes to that. You don't ever get ahead. Soon as countries are freed from that, that's when they become industrialized. That's when they grow. We are looking at a whole change of everything within a decade. So I just wanted to put that out.
So I don't mean to let my blonde shine here, and have a blonde moment. So is what you're saying that there are going to be these nuclear reactors at these data centers? So if something gets suspicious, they'll just basically be exterminated, annihilated like that. Is that what you're saying? Or am I being blonde right now?
No.
I'm saying that energy will be free.
Oh, okay.
Decentralized energy will become
Okay.
common.
Okay.
And it's been resisted. These mini nukes
I
have
see what
been
you're saying.
resisted for environmental reasons. But now that big tech needs them, suddenly they're going to be normalized, and we're going to see them all over.
I see.
Once they're normalized, they will spread like wildfire all across the world. And all of this windmills and solar, blah, 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 and petrochemicals is going to become redundant. And it's going to be completely transformational.
Nobody's thinking about this, but when you talk about these mini nuclear reactors, and I was just reading, they're literally going to start rolling them out in 2020, 2030. And within 2035, they're looking at them being everywhere.
Wow.
Yeah, so major changes coming. AI obviously is going to transform everything. We're looking at a rapidly accelerating world that most folks aren't going to be able to really adapt to. You think people are having, this old phrase, future shock. You think they're having that problem now? It's just going to be amplified 1,000 times within the next decade to decade and a half, and get ready for it. But we've gotten off track for what your question was. I don't even remember what it was.
The science and financial.
Okay, so the financial.
And the parallels of what you saw with institutions controlling science and controlling, again, finance.
Obviously, the wake-up call for the world, and particularly for those poor souls that had thought they could trust the Canadian banking system, was the trucker
That's right.
debanking that occurred during the trucker protests in Canada. And then we began to learn that debanking had been a kind of a silent fungus eating at the whole world. So we heard that Nigel Farage in the UK, now the leading candidate to run the next government, was debanked.
So was Melania.
Melania Trump. The Trumps in general were debanked. This weaponization of finance has been really become almost normalized. In our case, we confronted it. This is kind of a personal anecdote. The way the Substack ecosystem works is that Substack requires that you use Stripe to bring in your subscriptions. Well, Stripe isn't a very friendly company. They're pretty woke.
Okay.
And so what happened was that Stripe decided that it was going to kind of do a soft censorship, it appears. And they sent out letters, and we were among the first to get them, that demanded that they, all for the best reasons, to ensure that we were a bona fide operation. And we remember all this goes back to Russian election interference, which we now know is totally bunk. It was just a cover story. But, they used that justification. And so Stripe sent us this letter saying, you have to disclose
3 years of history with us, and 20 years of banking with Wells Fargo.
You're going to have to allow us to look into your bank account retroactively.
Like, you have to give us your password, and we will be able to have your banking records.
So they wanted complete access to our banking records. We didn't even give that to the IRS. So we were kind of in the hell no camp. Talked to some conservative friends who put us in touch with a hotshot lawyer in the Harmeet Dillon law group up in San Francisco. And $20,000 later, basically Stripe got a very aggressive WTF letter from a high-powered attorney saying, you don't have the right to do this. What do you think you're doing? And they just fell all over themselves. Oh, this went out without review from our legal office. And
It's actually beta testing.
yeah, it was beta testing. I don't know. I'm so sorry this happened. We won't do it again. And so, we dodged that bullet. But it's clear that that will be deployed anytime it's convenient, and we have an administration that won't back us up. That's why it's super, super important about the midterms. The Congress is corrupt. It is just as corrupt as the day
Both
is
sides.
long.
Both sides.
And we cannot, particularly by banking and finance and pharma, but banking and finance is the big kahuna. And these guys with the Federal Reserve and everything else, and then that feeds into the World Bank and central bank digital currency and all of that kind of integrated global financial system is a major threat to personal sovereignty and freedom. And I know you're focused on the crypto world. That's the hope is that crypto is the path forward to freedom. But I don't know if you noticed, Texas has passed a bill allowing gold-backed securities, so they're kind of moving into the gold economy.
Yeah.
My fear with crypto is, everybody's investment is going to be secure because Trump has endorsed it. It's going to have some role in the Federal Reserve. The downside to that is when the government steps in, the government controls. And I do not see how in the future, the larger crypto gets, the more the government will want control, the more the IRS is going to step in and want to see your records and
remember
this.
one of the advantages, crypto is like a double-edged sword. Yes, it's transparent. And it maintains transaction records forever. And the downside is it's transparent and it maintains transaction records forever, which means that those that want to oversee, regulate, tax, etc., can look into all the nuances of what you're buying, as opposed to if you use cash. I mean, I can't tell you how many people here on the farm, if you offer them, well, we can pay you by check or we can pay you by cash, you know what the default is, and you know darn why. Every small operator, business person, independent knows that they would prefer to have cash for that very reason. So that crypto doesn't really get around that full making your financial transactions anonymous. It's so I think be careful what you wish for.
That's true. Because it's almost
And
like they
the
can
other
use
thing-
that and weaponize it. Yeah.
I'm sure out there in LA or Florida or wherever it is you're based these days. Tennessee, okay. Yeah, so Tennessee, you're going to have some
Nashville.
power outages just like we do. And when the power goes down, good luck getting access to your funds, right?
All of it. Listen, first of all, I want to take it back to the Stripe story because that is so audacious. And I'm sitting here calm, but it makes my blood boil. The fact that it's like, just hand us your bank. Like, who, with all of these entities, literally, who do you think you are? Do you need to
and
cut?
The whole thing is, and what they'll say to you is, well, you don't have to use Stripe, but actually you do.
Yes, they
because they're
have
a
you.
credit card
They have you
processor.
by the balls
And
in
if you're gonna
every way.
Make your living on Substack, you have to use Stripe. But that's what they'll say. Oh, well, you don't have to use it.
Next thing you know, they'll have us in a bib and cut up our dinner and feed it to us. Like, could you literally not and let me live?
If you want to talk about that, we can talk about public health and what's going on in public health.
And I feel like we can't talk about that. And I will tell you, I actually just had my first, because you're content creators as well. channel, your Substack and videos, everything you do, I put out as a content creator my first minted piece on a decentralized Web3 platform. And that in and of itself, you're talking about the transactions, just from soup to nuts, it was so empowering because while it does have some issues, it's not totally bulletproof. The fact that I determined how many assets do I want to sell for how much. I see them like that. It's all out there. It's transparent. There's not these, I monetized, kept most of it. These platforms, you're making pennies. They're getting greedier and greedier, milking for everything that these creators are worth. What is it? 20-30% fee, bank fees, PayPal, all these fees. Yeah, this was just like, I controlled it. It's true autonomy. And again, none of these fees, I saw it right there in my account. And it was really, I had a pep in my step that day because I was like, this is the future. It's, that
Cool.
is the bright side of that.
That is the bright side. And a shout out to Substack.
Yeah.
They take 10% and
Right.
Stripe takes 3.5%. That is pretty outrageously good. When you look at what X pays people, it's pennies compared
For
to
millions and millions and millions of views. Even the platform that I used, it's so small. It literally, I think they take like 5%.
1.3 million followers
Yeah.
on
Yep.
X, and maybe he gets a few thousand each year
Yep.
from them.
Think about all of the banks, them, all of it. It's a couple day transaction fees. With this, it's just zip. I see it. I do it. It's mine.
Yeah.
Peer to peer. Here we go.
Yeah.
Not all of this, all this hogwash. With that said, though, because you're absolutely right, that these government banking institutions, whatever it is, that they are seething and rocking in fetal position to control all of this the quickest way that they can, right? Because God forbid they don't control every facet of our lives. So I actually, I did an interview with Rong Chen. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's like an OG was an OG at Microsoft, internet visionary pioneer, and he actually founded the Elastos blockchain, which this platform is on. And in my interview with him, he actually was, and he's very kind of like calm and even keeled, not super emotive. He's, Chinese and very just has that personality. And he was going off, being like, Web3, own your data. He basically was like, you don't really own shit. You really don't own shit. And it is bullshit. And they will find a way to control it. So whether, Robert, you had mentioned the central banking digital currency, you want to talk about digital IDs now. So all of that leads me to ask, is decentralization without control even possible? And what would that look like?
So one version of decentralization without control that's quite well established is the world of the historic religious communities, and in particular, in the modern sense, the Amish and the Mennonites. So these are small communities. They're typically limited to a certain number of families. It's often mentioned about 30 families, and then they will splinter themselves and form a satellite organization. So I think that it may be possible to live in rural or semi-rural environments, or perhaps even some urban environments, by carving out communities of like-minded individuals that are not buying into the system, and are finding alternative ways to transact. Whether, the problem, you get into a whole cluster of problems, though, where you have to recreate medical care, you have to recreate mediums of exchange because you can't get by with just barter. And all of that, how are you going to save? How are you going to prepare for the future? How are you going to mitigate your risk? The Amish have kind of figured it out. They're not a perfect society in any way, shape, or form. There's a lot of darkness in the Amish world.
Financially, they show it can be done.
They absolutely demonstrate that it is feasible. And so we had, just to illustrate the point, we had a call from one of our nephews last night. And
Who's
he's
45?
something like that, 45. So he's got a daughter and a wife for many years. He works a civil service job in the Central Coast of California. And years ago, he bought some really cheap farmland up in Humboldt County. And you are sophisticated enough to understand what that translates to. And so there's a log cabin, there's a greenhouse, there's plentiful water, there's multiple ponds, there's 3 springs. And he sits on a mountaintop surrounded by redwood forest that's protected. And they've got a little community of people there that live on small holdings and are making their way forward as a community, sitting up in that mountain environment surrounded by a little more weather than many people could tolerate in Humboldt County during the wintertime. Plenty of rain because it's basically rainforest up there. And it's not Hawaii, it's not Santa Barbara, but they have personal freedom and autonomy. And he's paying it off and making his way, and just like we're doing here, building his own personal paradise. I think, Taylor, if there's a lesson as a 65-year-old that I could share with your audience, it's that we each create our own heaven or hell on earth. It's up to us. You can do it. Your listeners can do it. We did it.
Control your debt.
You get out of debt as much as you possibly can. We basically lost. We got our clock cleaned with the Great Recession. We lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in North Georgia and had to reboot. And we didn't declare bankruptcy, but functionally we were bankrupt. And that was a decade ago.
More than that.
Yeah.
15 years ago.
15 years ago. Now we own this farm outright with barns, 3 houses, horses, dogs, blah, blah, blah. And I don't think we could have been as outspoken during COVID as we were if we had been burdened by debt and having to go 9 to 5. We couldn't have done it.
If we were employees.
By having your own holding, small holding, where we rarely shop for vegetables now. Jill makes a killer gazpacho from the stuff that comes off of our raised flower beds, garden beds, vegetable beds. And that's, if you can live a little more simply, get away from the urban grind, get yourself out of debt, and build community. One of the things that's just been fantastic is living in this little town, an hour and a half south of DC, in a county that has the same population it had in World War II. We're surrounded by real neighbors who know us, who care for us, who are glad to greet us and say hello at the post office and at the feed store and in the shopping, market, etc. It's just a nice thing, and everybody. There's so much negative said about the flyover states and how it's second best to live rurally. I don't think so. I think that you can make your own life in a place like this, create your own paradise, and don't look back. If you want to live away from central planning and control, then
you got to move away.
Get out of New York City.
Well,
get out
Robert,
of bi-coastals.
What you described sounds beautiful, but it would only be right and a service to my viewers if I just come and see for myself and infiltrate your space and live on your farm. And I'll just give an anecdotal, recount of events. No, but
Jill, you're always welcome.
Thank you. And Jill, what Robert just described, of course, is this sort of idyllic, back to basics, almost tribal, simpler utopia. But the reality is, I mean, look at already how these things have literally taken over our entire existence. So everything we've talked about today, when it comes to AI, technological advancement, it's only going to be more and more. We're going to be living literally in a metaverse. So what do you think when it comes to that world? Like, is it possible for that world to exist? Because, like I said, it's gonna be so
Well,
integrated in
it
our
is
lives.
actually real possible, and
What you're saying
I
without,
have a really good solution, okay? Like I put my phone down and I go outside and people are and I go outside for hours and people will be like, "Well, why didn't you call me? Why didn't you?" Well, it's like because
Sorry.
sorry.
I love that. I'm the same way. I'm an Aquarius. I'm
You
like, I'm
just put
living
it
on
down and
Mars.
you walk away. You don't have to be on it all the time. You really don't.
I mean,
Yeah.
Jill, for a new world, a decentralized Web3 world to exist without mass manipulation and control. Is that even possible?
No. No,
Well,
not, I don't think it is. I mean, yes, we can escape it, but in the end, we have to pay taxes. We have to live in this world. We have to give them our financial records. The web is going to continue to be controlled. They're going to continue, right now, AI is great because it doesn't have commercial interests involved. But wait 2 years. Everything that's happened to Google over the last 20 or 30 years is going to happen to AI. Pretty soon in AI, what's going to come up is results that are skewed a little to the company that pays them this and skewed a little to their advertisers. It has to be because, unless we all are subscription based on AI, they're going to make profit and they're going to make profit by advertising. So that's going to come for us and they're going to control us.
Mm.
I,
And
I believe they're going to
even
continue.
the nuclear reactors you'd mentioned, like you said, big tech is going to want to get their hands on that sooner or later. Like even that will
Absolutely.
be a means of control because, like, God forbid it offers any sort of, access or liberation. It's like,
Oh,
right.
and they're going to be expensive. We're going to be paying for them. But
Uh-huh.
yeah,
So
yeah.
before I let you guys go to your, beautiful farm, what would you say in a nutshell, given everything you've seen, again, the evolution of your career, your experience, this entire climate, where we're headed, again, because technology, AI, all of it is going to be one and the same with our lives. What makes you most hopeful about where this all could go, and pessimistic, for lack of a better word?
you go first this time.
Um,
But
hopeful. Um, I I believe that we are making real changes in the government right now, and I believe the government will get smaller, particularly if Vance or Tulsi Gabbard gets in 2028. And that is my hope, is that it's going to be through fiscal controls that we're going to control our government. That's my hope, and my fear is that doesn't happen.
mhm,
Um, what concerns me is with AI that what it will be used for is more and more control.
mhm,
It's not going to
Okay.
end.
So here's my take on this. And it was informed in part by a trip out to Manchester, UK, where we met with somebody that is creating a new video streaming platform uh, that is exploiting the unique challenges, let's call it, of the censorship environment around the United Kingdom.
mhm,
And what I saw was a entrepreneur who is very agile and able to exploit and recognize and exploit new opportunities. What's going to happen is that as these new tech uh, get deployed in a rapid fire manner, it's going to be very destabilizing for the existing very large organizations. The days of Google are increasingly numbered because of AI.
mhm.
It's scaring Google like crazy because their search, the hits that they're getting for searches are dropping like a stone because people are going to AI instead of going to Google to find information.
I do.
So what I see is these big uh, mega Silicon Valley firms. I used the metaphor the other day, if you'll remember Ghostbusters, of the giant marshmallow man lumbering around the streets, right? Just knocking things down, taking out the corners of buildings, just not being able to turn. And the opposite metaphor is from Jurassic Park. It's the velociraptor. Okay. Don't be a marshmallow man, be a velociraptor. I don't know what this is, but I'm not going to take it. And recognize that there are going to be all kinds of opportunities for those that are agile, intellectually, in and organizationally, and business-wise. The opportunities are enormous in this kind of a rapidly changing environment, but only for people who aren't wedded to current systems. And I rather than saying, oh no, the sky is falling, it's so grim, all these horrible things are going to happen. Don't take that attitude. That is self-victimization. That's what the left does, right? Don't be a victim. Okay? Be a warrior and look at this as opportunity, not as threat. Look at these changes as an amazing opportunity to innovate and adapt to a rapidly changing environment where the majority of people, I'm sorry, this is very, I don't know how it's not racist, it's not sexist.
I can't wait.
Maybe it's elitist or dumbest, but most people aren't going to be able to adapt efficiently. So don't be those people.
Survival of the fittest, bitch, is what he's saying. No.
Yeah, or stop whining and recognize the opportunity.
It's absolutely true. It's otherwise it'll just run you over. It's like be ahead of the curve, on the curve, make it work for you, use it to your advantage, and as a resource.
As you're doing with that new empowerment that you were talking about, and just think back to that feeling, that rush that you got, where you basically, if I could paraphrase what you just shared with us, is I adapted to a new system and I felt so empowered by doing that. And it gave me a rush, a sense of self-worth and achievement and self-actualization, because I was able to come up with a solution that circumvented all this bullshit that's going on.
That's right.
And that is the lesson, is don't let the bastards get you down. Figure out, be a velociraptor, figure out how you can skirt around them and bite them in the heels if you have to, but don't let them put you down. Be in charge of your own destiny.
That's why even what you said, I just was like chin to that, because I, up until, not too long ago, was a little bit of a traditionalist who wasn't sort of victimized, like what you're saying. I know exactly, the victimization of yourself, but was sort of, I'm a writer and a creative first. So when it comes to all this, I'm like, oh, it's AI is just going to, annihilate us at our jobs and all this. And I thought, okay, what we're saying, do you want to just be fearful and be a victim and just be like, oh, it's this entity bigger than I? Or do you want to exactly this, like work with it and make it yours and adapt? And it's really empowering. Yeah. I even had, I was so against ChatGPT, and this is the thing too, because it'll like gas you up and be like, you're the best thing ever, but I actually am working with I'm living proof of what you're saying. I'm working with another big, AI, up and coming AI company, and they're making my own Talk to Me Taylor agent. So it's like a ChatGPT Taylor, essentially. It's like talks like me, thinks like it's crazy, but it's like, it's so exciting because again, this is the future, and it's very empowering. So I'm living proof of what you're saying, Robert, for sure. So I appreciate that.
Cool.
And I appreciate you. We gotta get a Robert and Jill, because you know what they can do is they can make your agents. I should put you in touch with them. Your audience would love this. So they can interact like it's you. They go through all your Substacks, your videos, everything you've ever said. And it's crazy how sophisticated it is, but they can have your agents interact with one another. So I actually have to put you in touch because
Good.
this
Okay.
is real. But guys, thank you so
We have
much.
virtual arguments, just what we need.
All of it, all of it is out there. All of it is out there. I have to say, you two, first of all, we kept this only a little over an hour. So good job, team. We did it. And you two, you know, when Harry met Sally, the couples who you guys are like that, but the plot twist is you're like some of the smartest, most genius people on earth. But you're like the brilliant version of the when Harry met Sally little interstitials there, which is amazing. But I appreciate you guys as always. And this was awesome. And thank you again for the time. And like I said, you look amazing. And Robert, by the way, the unbuttoned shirt, it works for you. I dig it. It's a different look. I like it. Jill can attest.
Jill got these cheap on Land's End. I think they're the best thing since sliced bread. Cotton shirts.
Since sliced bread. That's right. She's over there. By the way, are your dogs okay before I let you go?
Oh yeah, it was the FedEx driver's okay too.
Okay, good. Everyone's good. I was gonna say, Jill's like she said, she's like with her book on her farm, not to be bothered, ordering your awesome cotton shirts on like Amazon or this site and just living her best life. So, all right, guys, I appreciate you so much. This was really so enlightening as always, and brilliant. And I so appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep. Do it again.
Hi, Rob. Rob, the people are so ready for you in the comments. I'm sorry to make you 5 minutes late. Can I blame it on being a woman? No?
No, but it's no worries. Your show was great. Great interview. As always, you're doing a great job out there. And anybody who watched, maybe, maybe some of them will stick around and watch my show. It's going to be a shorter version because we're starting late. And then there'll be the nightly recap at 9 Eastern as well. So great job, Taylor. Really, really thoughtful stuff and important conversations going on right now.
Thank you. We can't wait for your show. I know definitely what we talked, maybe you will incorporate it tonight. I don't know, but AI, reality, Web3, the craziness of all of it, that is definitely your wheelhouse, but the people are ready for you. So I'm not going to keep the people waiting, Rob. We can't wait.